Welcome everybody to another episode of A1 Agents. I am here at my good friend Ryan Berglund's insurance agency. He started his farmer's agency about 3 years ago here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And since starting his agency, he's been the #1 farmer's agent for the last 3 years. And he's also the founder of a company called Agency CPR, which helps agents with coaching, processes, and ultimately getting them the best possible results. Let's get into it. What's going on, Ryan?
Nick, thanks for showing up.
Ryan, thank you for having us at your agency. I'm excited to really dive in. I was saying out there that I've taken a lot from Ryan and his processes, and like some of the things you'll see in my agency are things that he taught me, and so I'm excited to dive into it to really see what we can do today that will help new agents and struggling agents, because you've built an amazing machine over here.
Yeah.
So
you were an early adopter, actually. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah. You know, Ryan used to be my financial specialist.
Yeah.
And so anybody that I put in front of him, he closed. And so Ryan he doesn't just know insurance agency sales, he just knows sales in general. And he's been able to teach that and duplicate that and really help people become more successful, write more business, you know. So Ryan, show us around.
Yeah, all right. So this is my favorite type of office layout where it's just open. I don't have my own enclosed office, right? I found that it's just basically impossible to know what your staff is doing if you're hiding in an office, right? So I love an office like this where it's open. I can literally hear all of my people talking all day long. And certain things, you know, if someone's in a conflict or they say the wrong thing, certain things kind of jump out at me. So then I learned to get more focused on that. But I love the cubicle approach. These are all 5 foot wide. They're pretty big desks for these guys. I got the 3 monitors. Ultimately, you know, I look at it like this. They're going to spend a lot of time here working. I want them to have a really nice workstation, right? And so the cubes also have fabric on it, which keeps the sound down, so there's not a lot of echoes and stuff like that. So that way we can have a lot of people in an office and not be too worried about the sound.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So this is my 6-pack. I got 3 cubes here, 3 cubes here. And I call it, it's like business in the front, party in the back, kind of.
Okay.
Right? So this is where all the action happens, right? We're like a call center. Yeah.
Okay.
So I like to have a balance of telemarketers and salespeople. There's like a ratio that I like. I've found it to be best where it's like 1 to 1. Like if I have 4 salespeople, I want 4 telemarketers, right? I want there to be a lot of calls being made. So in this office, I got SB over here and Dean. These are both telemarketers, right? Their job, get people on the phone, hit the lights, so that someone like Chance over here, he's a really good salesperson, can take them down. He gets them on the phone and closes the business from there. We got Jabron. This is an amazing story. Jabron actually is going to become his own farmer's insurance agent. So today is actually his last day. He's part of the protege program. Okay. So he's been with me for a few months. Taught him everything I know. He's already knew a lot anyways, and now he's going to go off to be his own agent.
Awesome.
You know, this is my office manager, one of my office managers right now.
Okay.
And so this is Edie. She's doing some service.
Hello.
She's doing service stuff right now, and then I got another telemarketer. This is Kylie. So.
Kylie.
Yeah, so really it's really good environment because you can hear, if you're a salesperson, and I'm missing my other salesperson right now, but if you're a salesperson, you're going to hear the telemarketers. They're right next to you. So you're going to hear them talking about getting people on the phone, and then you're going to be ready to take that transfer, take that call. Right. So that's, once again, why I like it, this office set up this way where we can all hear each other.
Why do you do the in-house telemarketing versus like a lot of agents do live lead transfers?
So most people, when they first come in my office, the first thing they notice is the energy, like the vibe. Like it's going, it's popping. People are on calls, things are getting done. I've been and I've seen it where agencies that are getting live transfers, it looks like another phone call to them. They don't even get excited about it anymore. But if I have Kai over here that gets somebody on the phone, it's right here. Chance is going to want to do, because Kai's on the team, Chance is going to want to hurry up and get that quote because she's incentivized for it. It makes her look good to have a lot of transfers. Okay. And then it'll be fun because Kai will be like, hey, Chance, get that for me, So it just keeps the energy going. It makes it really part of the teamwork. The telemarketers love it when they transfer something and then they get a same day sale. Right? So that makes them, we can see it right there how this is working, how like you made that call and that turned into a sale for the office, and it really makes everybody feel good. So really just all the energy.
Awesome. I noticed that a lot of in-house, telemarketing agencies that like, we'll get you telemarketers, right? Or people that have telemarketers in their agency, for them, like 10 transfers is like an awesome day. What are your telemarketers doing? How many transfers are they getting daily?
Yeah, my God, 10 is not good.
I know. I say the same thing.
At a minimum, they need to be doing 20. Okay, so if you're doing 20, you can still work here. Okay, but really, I have guys doing 25, 30, 35, 40 transfers. I think the record I've seen is somewhere over 50. Right.
Okay.
So, but it's also what I consider a transfer. So, just transferring the call and having the call hang up, that doesn't actually help anybody, right? So, we only get credit if it stays in the transfer portal for at least 30 seconds. Because then I look at like the telemarketer did their job, right? It lasted 30 seconds. Or if the agent talks to them, the salesperson talks to them, they have to have an interaction for 30 seconds. Okay. So just putting something in a transfer queue doesn't get you any credit. Like we have to remember what we're trying to do here, which is sell things. I don't need you to just transfer calls. I need that call to get transferred to an agent and then have that agent actually quote it. Then we're in a position to sell it.
Okay. So we've got to see a little bit of Ryan's operation, and I'm excited to ask you a couple questions, Ryan. So you obviously have created a coaching business, Agency CPR.
Right.
And so a lot of my questions are going to be geared towards helping agents. Like, what do you see typically when it comes to agents that are struggling? What do most agents get wrong?
I think...
I know it's a lot.
Oh my God, where to begin? One thing I think people underestimate is the activity, right? So I think they come in and they think things are going to fall into their lap. They're going to get walk-ins, they're going to get phone calls, and they kind of just think it's going to be easy, and it's not. So it's definitely something where you have to, make activities happen, which is why I like the telemarketing program so much. Like you have to make it work. Like we can make it rain with telemarketers.
Right.
And so you can see, like right now, my office is popping, and this is normal. Like this is how it should be. So a lot of agents, I go and they're quiet. No one's on a phone call.
Yep.
It says they're waiting for things to happen rather than going after it.
Yeah, you walk into some agencies, people are on their phones. It just feels like depressing in some agencies.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that I recognized when I did walk into your office a couple years ago was, oh my God, it's buzzing in here. And I told you, I was like, I'm going to call my agency right now and tell them to get their asses on the phone because it's nowhere near as electric. So outbound activity.
Outbound. Oh yeah, there's no inbound. Like the inbound is like service and stuff like that. But no, for selling stuff to make it rain, like you have to make that happen.
When the first thing that I recognized that I was doing wrong is I thought we were decently calling internet leads. I thought we did a decent job of calling internet leads. Yeah. And then I adopted Ryan's system where I hired telemarketers. I got onto the light system, and you came, you consulted me, you coached my agency on how many times we were supposed to be calling people. How many calls are your guys making daily?
When I do go to an office, that's like the first thing I do is I say, show me a lead that you got a week ago. And then while they're pulling that up, I'm going to ask the agent, so how many times do you think it was called, right? Like what's your process for it? And every single time they're wrong. Like they think it's been called 7 times and it was only called once. I went to one agent's office, the leads weren't even being called. Like that's part of what I do as management in here. I'm constantly looking at the leads, making sure they've been called enough. Everybody thinks it's all about the lead quality and buying expensive leads and like that's where it's made. It's not. It's having a process, right? So we call our leads 10 times on day 1. Okay, but we get a little more strategy around it. So I don't have the same agent call 10 times. We're going to have everybody in the office is going to call it once or twice or 3 times. So by the end of the day, we're going to have 10 total calls to this person from a bunch of different caller IDs. Okay, so that's
almost like other agencies would be calling this lead anyway.
Absolutely, and we hear that all the time, right? Yeah. So and that's pretty much our game. Like we're on top of it. So I'm not even worried about buying a shared lead because I know that we're going to call it the first and the hardest, and we're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to make it work. So all these other agents that wait 2 hours to call the lead, those are the ones that are going to hear that, I already got a quote, or I've already done this, or I'm getting blown up. Like that's because we called them already. Like my office blew them up first.
You know what? I recently had one of the top agents in the country at my office. I did his coaching program, or his program where he, I always wanted to learn from. I'm always wanting to learn from top agents.
Sure.
And he told me that 10 times was overkill. Mm-hmm. And then I talked to my team. I was like, hey guys, let me ask you, are we getting people on that 7th contact, that 8th contact in the first day? And they're like, absolutely. Yeah. We are. Like, and sometimes that's what it takes. And so if you guys are like me, when I was when he told me 10 times the first day, I'm like, yo, that's kind of a lot, man.
Yeah, everyone's scared of that. The customers are going to be mad, this and that. They're just not. It's just not how it works out. People, agents, and team members, they're afraid of things that don't even happen. Like they're afraid that they're going to get yelled at because we called this guy 8 times. I mean, we get yelled at because on the first call because we're telemarketers, right?
Yeah.
But like we don't get extra yelling because we're calling that often. Ultimately, I kind of joke, but like if you answered on the first call, I wouldn't have had to call you 10 times, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing that because we have such a special message. We're excited to get these to these guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's really a mindset of calling them. It's not like we're harassing people. It's that we're so excited to tell them about the great news on our quote that we can't wait to get a hold of them.
Right. So it's just a mindset shift.
Oh yeah, it's a full
and we
mindset.
were going through some of your scripts and some of the lead-ins and everything. And I remember at first I'm like, this is weird. and then, but it took me a minute for it to click. And I'm like, wait, it's the mindset behind what you're saying versus like what you're actually saying.
I used to be really worried about my material getting out there, because this is my business. This is how I feed my family and stuff. So, and then I realized it's not just what's written on a piece of paper. You can't just read the script. You have to be trained on how to use that tool, right? So just giving someone a hammer doesn't mean they can build a house.
Right.
I mean, you have to be trained on how to use that, when to use it, and how much pressure and everything, right? So, and I just love that part of the game. Like the telemarketing is really fun for me because it's where all the activity starts. And it's just so easy to listen to these calls because they get so many opportunities so I can listen to one of my employees, I can listen to 20 of their calls today and just coach them on this could have been better, this could have been better, this could have been better. And then ultimately they want to get better. So you have to have a team where they want to get better because if you don't want to get better, they're never going to try and do what you tell them to do anyways.
Right. I know you have, it's not just the outbound activity, it's not just getting people on the phone, but what are your sales agents doing that are converting on all these opportunities? Because if there's a first part of your ingredients to success is that you're putting way more of an effort to get people on the phones. You're investing in internet leads, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, yeah. So I've always been investing in internet leads, which is why I have so many of them now, because I've been doing this for years, right?
Yeah.
Well, my sales, they come from all over the place. They come from like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I actually track my leads by quarter now. So if I get an all-web lead, it'll say all-web lead, second quarter 2019. So when we're closing it, I know where that came from.
Oh, wow.
And so it went back to how many calls we make and stuff. We'll call people 64 times before we get a sale. Over years. Like we call them every 6 months, right? And so because I've been doing it so long, I actually buy way less leads today than I used to, but we have way more leads to call, and they're all good numbers. It's people we spoke to 6 months ago, right? And so then it gets to, how efficient is your telemarketing team? Are they calling good numbers or bad numbers and stuff like that? But ultimately, it's always volume. Every office I go to, the number one reason they're not selling, they're not on that top seller list, is because they're not calling enough.
Wow. Their
stats are low, their quote volume is horrible. Yeah. Even though I have all kinds of sales ability and training, like that's not what's holding people back. It's not because you don't know how to close. It's because you're not making any calls, right? You can't have 30 calls in a day. That's ridiculous. Like you have to. 100%. If you're a telemarketer, you need to have 500 calls. And that is absolutely possible. And if you're not a telemarketer, you're like, oh my God, that's a lot of calls. But if you're a telemarketer, that's the job. That's what you do. You make phone calls. So, I deal with agents all the time, and the agent themselves wouldn't want to make 100 calls, so they feel awkward about asking their staff to do it. That's not the right way to look at it. Like, this is a telemarketer. You hired them to make calls, and I expect you to make calls all day, right? And then you need to find a team and ultimately get your team together where everyone's doing that. If I hire someone new right now, they just come in and assimilate because I got the foundation. Right? So it's not like I'm convincing. A lot of times it is a struggle to take people that have been with you for 6 months and convince them, now I need to start making 500 calls. I know yesterday 20 calls was a lot, but today I need you 500, right? That's a hard thing. But when you already have that machine going and you have your core, then it clicks and it's a lot easier to get people to do that.
And when you're here for 8 hours, right? Yeah, I know you broke down the math when you went to my agency. You're like, how many calls can you make in one minute? And it was like, probably two. Probably two.
So
like,
and this is it's not hard. Like if that's your job, the telemarket, it is not hard. You can make about 1.5 calls per minute. Okay, and so if you do the math on all that, they can make way over 500 calls. Okay, I don't need people to make 700 calls. Like I can show you how to make 700. You don't need to do that. 500, I'm happy with. 450, 520, somewhere around there. Not 150. Right? Like you're doing something all day. So back to your original question was volume. Like that's the first thing I focus on is volume. Let's get that quote activity up. I expect every single one of my sales producers to be getting at least 15 households a day. So that should result in like 20, 25 quotes. if they're doing the cross line, right? But that's the goal. So if you get 15 quotes a day, I expect you to get a sale out of that.
Yeah. One thing I get from you is you know your numbers. I'm pretty decent at like knowing my numbers, but after like knowing you know every aspect of your business, all the numbers. How can you help people like inspect what they expect? I mean, right now they don't even expect it, so that's why they're not even happening. But how do you help people inspect it?
So I told you about how I walk into an agent's office. I say, show me a lead. I ask how many calls do you expect Becky to be making a day, and they'll say 100. I'm like, okay. If I ask Becky that same question, is Becky going to know how many calls? And so they'll go, oh yeah, for sure. And then I'll go ask Becky, and Becky has no idea what her goal is, right? So the first thing is everyone needs to have a goal, and they need to like go for it and track it and monitor it. So I spend all my time looking at, I love numbers and reports, and those reports sing to me, right? Like they tell me stories, but it's garbage in, garbage out too. So you have to make sure like it's all going to be done right, because then you can start using that for useful information. But ultimately, we got to have them making calls. And so in order for Becky to know how many calls she needs to make, the manager has to communicate that. I have an expectation that you're going to do 100 calls. That's 50 by lunch. And I've gotten to places where it's like, we don't go to lunch unless everyone's at half their goal. Because I don't want to wait till 4 o'clock and realize that we're short of our goal. We got to fix that immediately. So yeah, I actually get into the first couple hours of the day. Are we trending? By 10:30, you're 1/4 through your day. Are you 1/4 through your goals?
Yeah.
So, and it gets out of hand really quick. So, but if you're on top of it, but once again, it's like you have to find people that are okay with that. None of my staff, like, I think this is a miserable job. Like a lot of people, are like, oh my God, I could never ask my staff to do that. They would quit. It's like, yeah, you have the wrong staff if you want to be successful.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Right.
So if you want to be a number one agent, you're going to have staff that's on board with doing number one activities, right?
It's not designed for everybody. It's
No, we know people that didn't like my style, right?
You gotta slay a few dragons to find your princess, So,
yeah, not everybody likes the call center environment, but like if you want to be number one, this is how you're going to do it. Like you can't network your way to that many sales.
Yeah, I always say that this system is like if you're a new agent and you're just brand spanking new, or you're a struggling agent, this is the fastest way to see results. Whereas for me, I've always been, let's build partnerships, let's build a brand on social media, and that's more of a long-term strategy to go alongside with this strategy. And I think that's what's helped us become successful. Ryan, you're a huge part of changing the dynamic and the expectation of what outbound is. And so I hope if there's anything you guys get out of this, it's to change your mindset regarding that. So Ryan, let me ask you, with Agency CPR, what can people expect? Your clients, I'm one of them. What can they expect by using you with your coaching, right? Having you visit their office and like coaching their team. Like what does that look like for people?
So it's immediate. Like I walk in, I'll do like a 20, 30 minute meeting, like show me your phone stats. I'll do those things like show me a lead. Let me talk to Becky. Does Becky know what her goals are? I'm going to get an idea as to, does your office have a plan? Like, do they come into work just, this is another day? Or do they come into work knowing that they have things to do today, right? And so we're immediately going to lay that out. Okay, starting now, this is how you need to make 500 calls. But I will show them how. Like I'll jump on the call. I will show them, this is how you operate the software. This is how you do it to make those calls. Okay. And honestly, the staff or agents don't even know how to do it. So I'm basically, when I go to an office, it'll be staff member, agent, staff member. Like the agent's part of this learning also. Yeah. Like they're all learning this thing. And to get the full course, I guess, it takes a month. I can't teach you everything in one night, right? But you will immediately double, triple your sales because of the activities, the boost in your activities. But everyone likes that more because then they're like, my agency is exciting again. It's fun. Like I came to work and we make it rain. We don't wait for things. Like I'm going to get a sale today because I'm going to do what it takes to get sales today, right?
How do you find your employees? How do you find telemarketers? That was one of my concerns when I jumped on your program. I don't know if you remember. I'm like, how am I going to find these people? Right? Like, what are these people like? Are they going to want to do this? It's. If I'm being honest, it's hard to find somebody that's willing to bet on themselves because telemarketing is typically a lower hourly kind of thing, and you have to bet on yourself to see the results. And you've got people in here, telemarketing, probably making more than some people's sales agents, right?
That not here, but definitely that is I have offices I work with that is the thing. Like telemarketers can make more money. But when you think about it, if you find one telemarketer that's able to do 50 transfers a day, they are worth twice as much as two telemarketers only doing 15 or 20 transfers a day, right? Yeah. So they should make more money, right? So the telemarketing program that I train, it's kind of like a loose script. Like ultimately, if you have a good phone voice, like anyone can do this and have success with it. So I think what happens when you're talking about hiring and you're like, oh my God, where am I going to find these? I think you're overestimating the quality that you really need from a telemarketer. You need someone that's just going to be comfortable sitting at a desk for 8 hours and just kind of doing what they were told to do. Like it will work. Like there's no question. Like I know what to say. We know what the objections are going to be. I know how to say it. You know how to close. You know the telemarketing transfer and all that. So anyone can be trained this. You just need someone who's going to show up every day and have a good phone voice.
Do you find it helpful to have your telemarketing team like kind of like on the bench for potential sales agents?
Absolutely not. So
I haven't had success with putting a telemarketer into a sales agent.
I mean, it's happened a couple times, but for over the years and the hundreds of telemarketers I've seen come and go, like honestly, you want someone who identifies as a telemarketer. So it's very important that you put an ad or listing out there saying, I'm looking for a telemarketer or appointment setter, something like that. I'm not gonna, it's really hard to make a telemarketer into an agent. Okay, those are to a sales agent, but like those are so different in terms of what they're looking for. So if you think about the type of a person that's going to apply for a telemarketing position, that's the kind of person that wants to follow a script, that knows they're going to be wearing a headset. And I look for that on their background. Do you have any sort of call center experience? Because you're going to be a good telemarketer. If you were working at Best Buy or Home Depot, or if you walked around all day, you're going to hate this job, right?
Because people that like have done collections, people
those,
they're the best, right?
Mm-hmm. They are the best. Exactly.
You lit up.
Yeah, no, oh yeah, I get excited too when I see someone with the right resume. I'm okay, because I have a formula. If you combine that with somebody that's willing to listen and willing to do it, they're going to blow up. They're going to be amazing. So, and that's fun to work with. So, but no, I guess your original question is, can we take a telemarketer all the way into sales? It's happened, but I don't find that telemarketers typically want that. I find the agents want that because we're all good people. We want to help develop people. We want to give them a future and let them know that there's ladders here. Honestly, you get a telemarketer that's happy being a telemarketer, that's just something you don't need to worry about.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be here a year from now, 2 years from now, just doing their job, happy as a lark. They don't think about work outside of work. Yeah. That's good for them, right?
Yeah. Whereas the sales agents, they kind of take it home with them a little bit sometimes.
They should, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. We hope. But
hopefully they're binding something on the weekends too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talk to us about the systems, the training. I know that you've developed some sheets. I have your sheets, right?
Right. Typically, everybody gets the telemarketing is how we start, right? So here's the telemarketing sheet. Follow this. Here's your script. Hey, I see you were just shopping for insurance. I got a notification that we're going to be the best company for you. And this talks about how to go through a telemarketing call, right? It also has all the objections on it. I know what these people are going to say. They say the same thing every time, right? I'm busy. I already have insurance. Like, we're just prepared for that, and that's what this is. So at some point, you memorize this. You don't really need it. Like, you got it because you do the same thing all the time. Now you're going to go through maybe, I tell people, first thing in the morning, kind of review it. After you come back from lunch, right? Let's get back in the game. Let's get focused again. And then I have the sales stuff. So it's impossible. I couldn't make a sheet big enough to put everything that you need to do on a sales call, on one sheet of paper. However, if you do this, you're going to sound better than 95% of the people out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not hard. Just have a plan, right? It's just when you answer that call, do you know what you're going to do and what steps you're going to take to have that end in a sale? And telling people about the benefits of your company, that's like a no-brainer, but people don't do that. Unless you've been taught, unless you've practiced it and role-played it, right? People aren't going to do it.
Most people just are order takers, and it's like, you want Coke, fries, a large Big Mac, it's going to be $5.98. Nope, too expensive. All right, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I know, and it's. And that when you're interviewing people and they ask you, well, I heard, all these companies must have really good rates. I'm like, no, we have horrible rates. If you need good rates to sell policies, you're in the wrong job here because, there's plenty of companies where they specialize in rate. But, if you want to get paid and actually make money in this industry, you're going to have a skill.
You have to have skills.
Right. And it is something you can
10
teach.
People, you're going to be cheaper on one of them, right? And that's a layup. Yeah. You should close that one.
You better close that one if we're cheaper.
You have to, otherwise you're in the wrong position. But our goal is to, like you've always told me, close that extra one. Get 2 out of 10, get 3 out of 10, and you're going to be sitting pretty.
And you look at it over the month. Ask somebody, what did you do last month? And they said, I did 20,000. Well, 25 would have been better, right? So that's really only one more sale a week. So maybe it takes a lot more work to get 1 more sale a week or 2 more sale a week, but over the course of a month, that's going to put money in your pocket, right? Yeah. For most of these agents, another 5,000 in sales is going to be, $100, $500 of commission in their pocket. So if you go into that month and just do this, you're going to make more money. everyone's happy. The agent's happy, right? You're selling more policy. The carrier's happy. The agent's happy. The customer's happy. Like, it's just a win-win if everyone is following a plan. But if you go through every call hoping that you're going to be cheaper, that's just a depressing way to do business.
Yeah.
Because you're not. You're going to be more expensive 9 out of 10 times.
100%. So Ryan, with your team, obviously you have a machine over here. You have a training process. You know, they're making money because they're trained. And so ultimately that leads to happier employees, better retention, things like that.
A lot of times people are hesitant to like bring me on or hire me because they feel like it's going to shake the boat in their current office. And usually I find it the opposite to be true, that employees are refreshed. Like, they're happy. They're like, oh my gosh, like, you care enough about me to bring in a specialist and train. Like, now I'm actually going to have I'm going to know what I'm doing today.
Right.
So, I mean, imagine if every day you went into work and you just had no idea what your goals are. You're just hoping you get a sale and not having any sort of control over that. And then you come in, you meet me, and all of a sudden we have a vision, we have a direction. Like, this is what we're going to do today. People, they like that. They like knowing what's expected of them. They like having goals, and they like hitting goals, right? Does it not feel good to hit a goal? Yeah. Like, yeah.
When you get a sale, it's like, you know, and then everyone's rooting each other on. And
if you're used to getting 1 sale, 2 sales a week, and I can come in and show you how to get 1, 2 sales a day, you're happier, right? You're making more money. The agent's happy. We're getting free lunch. Like, everything's good. So
team outings.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We do. Yeah, the Top Golf and stuff.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's good to have rewards, but I've found that people like being trained. They like knowing that there is a better way to do something. And a lot of times the agent doesn't know that either. So the agent just, maybe they did it really good themselves, but you know, it's good to have, you know, a specialist come in and talk to you. Right.
Nobody likes waking up and saying, like, we're going to suck today. Like, nobody, everybody wants to be better. They just need some guidance. They do need to be the right person. Because not everyone, you know, I find that we're constantly drawing a line at our agency. Like, we're number 1 right now, and it's just like, and then we fell off 1 month, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, we want to be number 1, or at least you should want to be, you know, the best at your craft. And
not everyone does. There's a lot of people, they're happy with being ranked 35.
Yeah. I mean, as long as your agency is profitable, of course, and as long as your team's happy and they're making money. But a lot of times, you know, especially like in current economic times, it's like you should probably be motivated right now, especially with, you know, prices of everything's getting more expensive. You should want to own a house, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think when we invest in their development, they do look at it as like, oh wow, I'm being invested in. You know, my team has always thanked me for bringing on people, bringing on you, you know, investing in training platforms.
Most employees, they want more money, right? And they want to be able to command more money. So I'll ask them, like, a year from now, where do you want to be? Like, you want to be making more than you make today, right? Okay, well, what skill are you going to develop that's going to make you worth more money a year from now, right? Or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. Like, a lot of, you know, employees, and you've seen them, right? They just hop from job to job, and they're constantly going to be making, you know, 15, 18 bucks an hour for the rest of their life. Like, you have to sit with a job, learn a skill, and be good at it. And luckily, what we do, I mean, we're not as much insurance agents as we are salespeople, right?
Right.
So the skills that, you know, you learn through a course like Agency CPR, it's a sales skill. You can take that anywhere. You could be selling, I'm looking at houses across, you could be selling houses, right? You could be selling, you know, rain gutters, whatever. Like,
anything.
It's the same sales skills that's going to get you there. So when I meet people, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be an agent 2 years from now, 5 years from now, but I do know you're going to have a skill. And that skill is going to make you more valuable, right?
Yep.
And for the right employees, they appreciate that. You know, if they're a lazy employee, they're like scared of that. They don't want to do that because I'm going to be on them. I'm going to listen to their calls. I'm going to be, why'd you say this when you know we should have said that?
So we've talked about the outbound activity and how that needs to be 10x'd essentially. We've talked about, you know, the whole flow and how that gets, you know, works its way to the sales agents. How are your sales agents closing so much business? I know we talked about value versus not having bland conversation, following the program. But if you could give any agents tips on how to actually close more business, what would that be?
So a lot of people, I speak confidently. I'm a salesperson myself. I'm selling my concept all the time, right? So when I come across and I tell people about my system, it's like, this isn't the only system. I mean, this is just a sales system, right? But if you follow any plan, you should be successful. So just follow a plan. What I experience when I listen to someone's call is they have no direction. They're just asking the name and address and That's about it. Nicely though, right? So they're nicely asking
You can't pleasant your way to a sell.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you make it really easy. Man, you're a nice guy, Nick, but I'm not going to do business with you, right? So it make it easy for them to say no. So I go into it with a very assumptive approach, right? Like, you're going to buy. Like, the goal of this call is to sell it. I'm not here to take this call and quote people. Nobody gets paid for quotes, right? So when we answer that phone, I expect you to be on a mission that we're going to take Mrs. Jones here all the way through to a sale on this call. And so we're gonna break it up into steps, right? So you have to get the person to like you, and I have tricks on how to do that. You have to tell them why your company is going to be amazing, right? Because ultimately we're going to cost more. You need to be able to defend why we cost more, right?
Defend why we cost more. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then close them. Like, tell them, like, be assumptive about it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it right now. Everyone I talk to buys, right? And that has to be the mentality, the mindset. So when you answer that phone call, this isn't just another quote. Like, this is my next sale. Like, it starts right away. I want to hear very first thing out of your mouth is like on the direction to sell policies, right? And so when we listen to calls, we'll pause it and talk about it. Like, how are we looking? We're 4 minutes into this call. Are we feeling good about it? And if you're not feeling good, like this is going to turn into a sale, you need to change something right then and there, which is when you have training, you have something to fall back on. You know what to do when you feel like it's not working, right? And so it's about having a plan and then executing that plan, and then the mindset of, we're going to sell it, it's going to happen right now, and we're going to close them, right? Like, this is auto insurance. This is really easy. If you're talking to a 45-year-old, they've done this a lot of times in their life. This isn't a hard decision for them, right? Like, but agents are, think about it over the weekend. Like, talk to your wife. I mean, and they act like they understand the customer. It's not that hard. This is an easy decision you need to make right now.
Nobody wants to put off the decision. Like, it's like, no, it's either yes or no.
Yeah. And I'm not a big follow-up guy. So, I mean, unless we're saving someone a ton of money and they're like, well, let me think about it. Like, you're out of here later. Yeah. Like, you've already lost it at that point. Yeah. So you need to have, ultimately, by the time you're presenting a price, you want your customer thinking, this sounds really good. Like, if you're just close, I'm going to do this, right? You want your customer doing that, and that's what I mean by having a plan and how to get that customer going from, I want price, all I care about is price. You have to get them to switch their mindset and then, okay, I understand that insurance is a big deal. I do need value. I do need a good company, right? And you have 8 to 12 minutes to convince them of that. Yeah. And here's a plan to do that. And so ultimately, they need to be buying on this phone call. So same day sales are a big deal.
I want to talk about real quick. Just came to me is you score your calls, right? You score them out of 15, right? There's like 15 boxes to check.
And I call it the perfect call if you can get all 15, right?
Yeah, and it's. And the goal is we're not going to check every box, but you rate it like
I would
like a
check every box.
Like
every box. Like, go ahead, why not?
Yeah.
What is it you don't want to tell this person? Like, you should be hitting all of the boxes.
You should, 100%. But a lot of times when we listen to calls, sometimes it's like we only check 3 out of 15.
Yeah, and that's why
like a horrible F.
And that's why I keep the score, right? Yeah, because I go and it's per part, right? So this part you got 5 points, this part you got 5 points. And I'll be like, you got 1 out of 5. Like, what was the hard part? What couldn't you do on this list? And let's talk about it. Right. But it's not that any one of these things are hard. It's hard to do 15, I guess. But not for me, because like I know when I'm in a sales interaction, that's my goal. I'm not going to forget to tell someone that you get me as your agent. Like, that's a huge deal. Every single person I talk to needs to know that. Yeah. So, and that's kind of my expectation. You're going to get 15 out of 15. And I guess what you're saying is, even if they're going to get like 14 or 13, that's still way better than most calls. And that's enough for them to be a really successful agent. Yeah. But I have an expectation that you're going to implement the full system and you're going to try. And that's how we score it. But yes, when you put it in a numerical system like that, and I get people get their calculator out and they figure out that they got a 62%, which in any school, that's a D.
That's a D.
Right? Even though the customer was laughing, having a good old time, you didn't sell it and you got a D on that call. Yeah. So
I've heard calls where it's like all this rapport, but just no value. And it's like, look, they like you, but you're not going to be able to close that. And then there's some other calls where it's like all this value, and it's just like, dude, I don't care. Like, who are you? You know? It's like you didn't build any rapport.
And there's a balance, right? You have to do both of those things, right? Yeah. You can't just do one or the other. You can't, what'd you say, nice your way to a sale? Or
you can't pleasant your way there.
Yeah.
And then I love the analogy you always use is when baking a cake, if you miss one of the ingredients, if the temperature's 300 and it should have been 400, right? That cake's not going to bake right.
Yeah.
Or if you miss the egg, right? It's not gonna bake right. So
there are
every
ingredients.
Aspect of the sales training must must work.
And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Okay, so we don't want to do 15 out of 15. Think about it. Okay, so we don't want to use all the ingredients for the cake. Which one do you want to do without? The eggs? Is that what you're going to go without? Yeah. Right? Or how about the frosting? Right? Like the flour? Like we need all of those ingredients together in order to come out with the cake the way we expect a cake to look, right? Mm-hmm. So no, I do expect people to have 15 out of 15, right? And that is the expectation.
Right.
And, you know, pretty much you could argue that the call could have been better. And so if we want to sell more policies, we could do that.
All right, so Ryan, so we went over a ton today. Ryan's a machine, as you can tell. He's very passionate about this. He lives and breathes this, and I hope you guys got some value. But if you guys want to learn more about what Ryan has going on, if you want to invest in this program like I did and how it helped my agency, Ryan, how can they get a hold of you? I know that that I am, you know, we've worked together, and I'll put your information in the link so that way it's a direct way to get a hold of you. So if people wanted to find you, if people wanted to, you know, to use you as their coach, how do they get a hold of you?
First of all, I would love you to do that. So, I mean, I really enjoy what I do. This is fun for me. I get a thrill out of it when I'm talking to agents and meeting them. Like, it is, I'm really big on my testimonials. I love when agents hit me back with like, oh my God, this was so amazing. So every time I go into an interaction, that's my goal. That's my win. I want my 5 out of 5 stars kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I think everyone, I tell them I under promise and over deliver. And I promise a lot, and I still feel like I under-promise, right? Yeah. So anyways, it's Agency CPR.com. The CPR is for coaching, processes, and results. So AgencyCPR.com, you can pretty much figure out everything you need to contact me that way. I would absolutely love to talk to you if you're even contemplating doing this. Just talking to agents, I'll give a free consultation. Yeah. I'll identify like super quickly what you need to be doing to move that needle immediately. So, and that's what people want. You're not going to like wait a month to start seeing results. You will see results right after our phone call. Like you will immediately know what you need to do to get your agency to start performing better.
You're going to find out really quickly. Like I highly endorse using Ryan even for his free consultation. You're going to find that there's a lot of holes and a lot of gaps in your agency that you might not be aware of. And I'm
going to help you prioritize which ones we should focus on. Because there's all kinds of things you probably need to do, but if you do this one, you're going to move the needle quicker, right? Like, so I'll help you identify that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll put a link in the caption and description so you guys can go, so you guys can connect with Ryan. But Ryan, thanks for being with me, man. I appreciate you.
It's good seeing you again,
yes,
as
sir.
always. Thank you so much for doing all this. Hopefully we help somebody.
Absolutely.
Right?
We will.
All right.
See you guys.